environmental law, and construction law from Chicago, Illinois. We're helping to create the next generation of lawyers with high emotional intelligence through a weekly book club and daily practical posts at facebook.com/lawyersEQ. During a book club discussion, deep dive that will help us to develop, specifically think of our law practices. I will be live every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Central for this, and it is a discussion. So please liberally use whatever box you see to ask questions or make comments. Tonight, we might have a slew of different platforms, including Facebook, Twitter. We know we're on Instagram, Twitch, possibly LinkedIn. So everyone, so I'd love to sit down and have a discussion. And that's because I don't sit here as an expert. Contrary, I will be learning along with all of you. I'm really interested in hearing your opinions and observations. And specifically, today we're going to be doing a lot of actual work today in terms of writing things down and developing our schedule and our priorities. So it should be a lot of fun. So would love to, if you are listening in or watching this from different places around the world, would love to see where you're from. I'm here in beautiful Naperville, Illinois. Usually my office is in Chicago, but obviously with the quarantine and everything that's going on, I am here in beautiful Naperville, Illinois, which is a western suburb of Chicago. So welcome, everyone. So let us get started. So just if you don't know, haven't seen these videos before, here's a little bit about me. I graduated in 2003 from DePaul here in Chicagoland area. I'm a senior counsel at Becker and Abramson, and my practice areas, I'm a civil litigator, so resolving business disputes, construction law, and environmental law. My mission is I get up in the morning to identify and share historically correct knowledge and resources in order to help others meet and exceed goals and stay in every area of their lives. I do that in many different ways. I do this video webcast called The Lawyer Life, Sales and Leadership Principles for Attorneys. Right now we're delving into the leadership portion of it. So we're talking about the Stress Solution book, and that is a book by Dr. Rangan Chatterjee. The 4 steps to reset your body, mind, relationships, and purpose. And as you can see, we're in the purpose category. And we talked a little bit about affirmations. We did that 2 sessions ago. Last session, we talked about reframing. Continue on in the section as well today. We're going to be talking about recent news today. We're going to talk about last week's action item and have a discussion about that. We're also going to continue the discussion of the stress solution by delving again into purpose and how to schedule your time. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And the usual disclaimers, this is not a replacement for psychological or medical treatment. I'm not a doctor or medical professional. If you feel like you have a need, like suicidal thoughts or deep depression, don't use this as a replacement. You really should talk to a doctor, psychologist, go to the lawyer's assistance program, all of that kind of stuff. Don't use me as a replacement for that. So I did want to talk about some recent news, and this is a quote. And let me just bring up the camera because I find this fascinating. So we are in this and business. It was on law.com. And the title of the article is, "This Isn't a Gravy Train, The Curious Case of the Kirkland Email." And it basically talked about how there was an email that went out from one of the partners to associates. So again, we're all working from home. So this is one partner who at, I guess, Kirkland and Ellis, who sent this email to folks. So let me just put that up on the screen. Here you can see what he says. He says, folks, I don't know what happened to mine, but it says, folks, just hung up with some of the restructuring senior partners. There are some huge cases coming in, and they have no staffing. Thanks to everyone for stepping up so far in cases. For those of you that aren't fully occupied right now and are not on a single restructuring matter because they have been hiding, let me spell out reality for you real quick. I am seeing a ton of money being left on the table on the matters coming in, and I have seen all of your hours today from mostly junior associates. I'm pretty shocked math is not going to work out for you at the end of the year. Blank names will continue to staff folks below senior partner over the coming days and weeks. I will be calling them personally. Given the market, you should feel extremely lucky to be here in an institution with too much work. That doesn't mean you haven't get a call or don't have enough to do. I suggest you grab a restructuring assignment ASAP and roll up your sleeves. If it was me in 2008, I would be preemptively calling people after you read through this note. This isn't a gravy train. You can't just chill and be along for the ride. And for all of you today is whether we think this is too much. It's really, beyond the pale kind of email to go out to certain associates. And this is how Vivia Chen, who is the author of this article, she wrote, what's conspicuously absent is the pandemic and how that's altered the world. If anything will reinforce the stereotypes of lawyers as greedy and emotionally deficient, this memo hits the nail. Despite all you hear about the profound impact of the coronavirus and how it's making people more caring and compassionate, the tone and content of this memo suggest the opposite. So I'm curious as to if you've seen this article, if you have any impressions as to whether this was appropriate to send out. I mean, obviously, sending out a firm-wide email criticizing associates may not be the best thing. And I totally understand where the author is coming from in terms of, discussion of pandemic. There's no discussion of their kids, they're, taking care of sick family members, maybe. I mean, who knows? For me, perhaps the best thing to do would have been to have this partner just pick up the phone and call an associate and call associates who seem to have lower hours to see what's going on. There's work that you could be doing, but I just wanted to check on you to make sure, other than sending just sort of this lambasting email. I sort of understand where the author of this article is coming from, but wondered what everyone sort of thought, because I that you want people to stay busy. You have work, do the work. I've always been saying that if you have work in front of you, do the work you have, because you never know when it's going to go away. And but at the same time, we're going through a situation we've never dealt before, and some emotional intelligence, I think, could have been used in better drafting and perhaps communicating the message he was trying to get across. So that's the recent news for today. Let's move on. So let's talk a little bit about last week's action item, which was it was a gratitude action item. So gratitude practice, three things that we wanted to do. We wanted to think of a person that we felt grateful for during the day, focus on wishing them gratitude, thinking about pleasure that you experienced during the day, feeling gratitude, and then thinking about something that promise for the future and gratitude for that as well. And then writing those down and writing the things down that you feel gratitude towards. And so here's the I would love to hear, some of the things that you were grateful for. I would just say in terms of process, one of the things that I came across is that it was a nighttime ritual. And so many times I kind of, fell asleep at night without even, without doing that, formal practice. So I fell down a couple of times, not in the formal practice, but I did sort of during the day think about gratitude. Think about, like I was cutting the grass the other day and I was thinking, wow, I didn't really do the gratitude last night, but there were some things, that I was grateful for. And so, part of it is sort of my schedule. I really have a great schedule, and we'll talk in terms of not being able to do that practice. But I did do it a couple of nights, and what I found is, there were a lot of things to be grateful for. I mean, there was so much bad news in the past week in terms of, people who, lost their jobs. There were, what was it? 30 million people out of work or something like that. I mean, just horrendous, employment numbers. And then just Los Angeles, I just saw is going to be out for the next 3 months. As they're extending their quarantine order, which I don't know how people are going to do that. So I felt particularly grateful for my job. I felt particularly grateful for being at a firm that still has some work. Very grateful for the people that I work for in terms of the managing partner of the Chicago office, who has a lot of good cases. Grateful for my clients, and then grateful for for my family, just for my immediate family who it's kind of nice not being alone in the pandemic and have people that you can rely on. People that, I mean, it was just as simple as like my wife went out grocery shopping yesterday. Just, bringing that food home while I was working. I was, very appreciative of that, very appreciative of most of the time for the way my kids are. And I appreciate the time that I get to spend with them. And that's, again, a little bit of reframing where, would I rather be in the office working? I mean, I guess, right? But as I'm here, we're quarantined, but, I get to spend the time with the kids, spend the time with the family. So a lot of things and then a lot of things to look forward to. Like, yesterday they said that Hamilton was coming out on Disney Plus in July. So I'm looking forward to that. That was actually supposed to come out in theaters, and now it's going to be on Disney Plus in a couple of months. What else was I looking forward to? Looking forward to Disney reopening. Walt Disney World is going to be reopening Disney Springs, and they're opening already. Lots of things to look at, related stuff. A lot of things that sort of entertained me. One of the things that we did as a family on Mother's Day is we did this painting class. Which I didn't expect to enjoy, but I did, and I not only enjoyed sort of the process, but of course, also spending time with the family as well. So there were a lot of good things, a lot of things to be grateful for this week. And if you're watching and you're able to chat, let me know what you were grateful for this week, whether it was a person, whether it was pleasure that you might have had, a TV show that you watched, or just a feeling. And also, what did you look forward to in the future as terms of things that that held a promise for you in the future? Would love to hear what you thought and what your practice was like over the past week. Because doing something at night is much different than during the day, right? Because you get up, you have, and we'll talk about a morning routine very shortly, right? But it's something you do, first thing in the morning, as opposed to at night when you're going to sleep, you're ready, a little tired, and you have to, get yourself, in that mode. But I think it is a good time to do it. You just have to sit down and actually do it in order to get your practice going. So let us move on. So we're going to talk today. We're going to spend the rest of the night talking about scheduling your time. And as lawyers, one of our sources of stress is that we feel like our schedule and time is not our own. That's because everybody wants our time. We actually bill our time. That's how most of us get paid, is on the billable hour. We feel like we need to find more time, and we never feel like we have enough time for ourselves, for our family, and for our friends. So as a result, everyone has a keen demand on our time, and we feel like we need more. There was a comment, and I know there's a little bit of a delay, so I'm sorry for that. But it says, I'm grateful for my husband and how hard he works for our family. Actually found a pleasure in doing a Mother's Day workout with her son, which is awesome. That's great. And if anyone else has any other things that you're grateful for, would love to hear that. And having time is something that is much different now as it was before the pandemic, right? We should have more time because we don't have to commute. We don't have to go into an office. We shouldn't be distracted so much by, workmates and water cooler type stuff. But, I think it's more important than ever that we schedule our time and have gratitude for the time that we actually have. And so we'll talk about why that is. So scheduling your time. So today is and we're talking about purpose, right? And so we want to purposefully plan and schedule our time. And there's many, many reasons for that. Dr. Chatterjee goes through all of the reasons in the book, and I'll just give you a few of what he talks about. One is that when we actually plan and schedule our time, it sends our brain positive information. We feel more in control of our lives, we're in control of the day, and that life is good or life is better. We're wired to get a little dopamine buzz. So every time we get to a portion of our calendar and get done with that task, we get a little dopamine from that. We can even gamify our days. So make our schedule, and we can beat our schedule. That makes our days fun because we can find more time within that schedule. Scheduling our time actually helps us, obviously, I think it's an obvious point, prioritize the most important things. It should improve our efficiency, and it helps find time to do more of the things we love. Now, let me just wanted to talk about one thing that is particular to lawyers who bill your time. So what we're going to talk about is actually precisely having your time scheduling your time like every minute of your day, which is it's very hard to do for a number of reasons. One is, especially if you're an associate, not a partner attorney, or not a rainmaker, your time is really, and even if you are a rainmaker, your time is usually dependent on phone calls that come in, emails that come in, distractions from your coworkers, all that sort of thing, and your time is not really your own. And so what I recommend is just having a block set of time that you call work hours, and then everything else you're trying to block out, right? You're trying to have for other things, and we'll talk about what those other things are. So it's a peculiar thing that we actually build our time. And when I talk about sort of gamifying our lives and finding more time within your day, well, if you're setting aside, 10 hours for billable time, then and you have enough work to fill that up. Well, you're not going to be able to find, it's not like if you do the task faster, that you're going to somehow get more time to play the piano. That's not what happens. If you do a task faster, more efficiently, which is great, then you're just going to fill that billable time with attorneys' ability to schedule, and just your normal who it early, then you can move on to something else, or have more free time for yourself, or more training, or that sort of thing. We don't necessarily get that as attorneys. Okay, so let's so we talked about why. Getting a little delay here on my calendar. Let's go back to the camera before that comes up. It's having a little bit of internet glitch here, which I think is pretty normal. Everyone's using the internet to do what they need to be doing. So let's see if I can bring up my presentation. And if not, that's okay. I can fake it. So in here. All right, well, no worries. I'm sure it'll pop up eventually. So, here we go. Perfect. Let's just move down to where we are. I'm not gonna go presentation mode. Have what we need. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is set up a frame. Know that there's that we need during the day. And so we know that there are work things that we need to do. We know that there are business development tasks that we need to do. But the question is, how do we build our time to help with the stress and to help us find our purpose? And we do that. The first thing we do in order to do that is to discuss what we should be. So the question is, we ask ourselves, what do you want to be doing? Usually that means something purposeful and active absorbing that takes our attention away from our troubles. So in the book, Dr. Chatterjee talks about a wife who she took up rock climbing, and essentially when you're doing rock climbing, it's very purposeful, and it takes up your full attention, so you're not worried about everything else that's going on during the day. You also want to focus on new experiences, and they help the brain to grow by activating different pathways, which helps our brain shift out of the stress state. So remember, the other thing that we had talked about in earlier episodes is that our brain is either in the thrive state or in the stress state. So if we are in the thrive state, then we are getting information about positive experiences. And the stress state, we're stressed out, right? Things that are not able to, they're not connected to our purpose. So we want to think about what we want to be doing, what's purposeful and actively absorbing, and what are new experiences that will help us to get out of that stress state. We want to ask questions, and I recommend you open up a new like a Google Doc or a Word doc, and I'll be doing this along with you, although this is kind of like a cooking show where I've done some of this before, and because I didn't want to just come up with things off the top of my head, I wanted to think about it a little bit, but I would recommend that you write these down, because we'll be using these answers later on in the show. So the first thing you want to write down is, which activity would you love to spend more time doing? Something that you feel you can't find time for in your daily life. So take a moment just to write that down. It could be 1, 2, or 5 activities. Activities you would love to spend more time doing, something you feel you can't find time for in your daily life. So would love to see in the comments what your activities are, things that you want to spend more time doing, but you feel like you don't have time for. And this could be, and what I'm talking about is right now. So thinking about your life right now in quarantine. I'm not talking about before the quarantine. I'm not talking about what you think you're going to have time to do later, because we are right now where we are. And as I said, perhaps on the first episode of this reboot, we have to get to acceptance. So this is life right now. So what would you spend more time on or doing? And you feel like you don't have time for it. So there are a lot of things that I wrote down. Watching, which is impossible right now, but I guess I could watch more YouTube. So going and seeing the theater, watching movies, cooking, praying and Bible study, or rational reading. And then I also have reading on there as well. So would love to hear what your things are, your activities that you want to spend more time doing, but you feel like you can't because you don't feel like you have the time. While you're still thinking about that, let's go on to the next question, which is, what are the 3 most important things you want to get done on any given day that would make you feel as if you won the day? So for me, I wrote down, this is like a workday thing for me. I wrote down billable time. I wrote down business, that business, additional business development activity, whether that's making phone calls to clients or potential clients or referral sources or writing articles and the like. And then I have a daily podcast. I have a daily podcast, so if I don't do that podcast, it kind of defeats the purpose of it being daily, right? Um, so those are the three things, and would love to see what others have written down for the three most important things you want to get done in any given day that would make you feel as if you won the day. So we'd love to hear your answers on that. And while I'm waiting for that, let's go on to the third question, which is which person or persons would you like to spend more time with than you currently do? And you can write down in the comments what your people are. You would like to spend more time with than you currently do. Now, for me, that is a very easy one. It's my wife, my kids, and friends, which sounds odd because almost 24 hours a day with my wife and my kids. But oftentimes it's not what I would call purposeful time, and there's a lot of good, spontaneous discussions and that sort of thing that happens. And I would definitely put that as part of having a good relationship. I would say, we do less and less sort of, I don't know, so like doing that cooking class or that painting class, excuse me, was extremely fun. And that was a great activity for all of us to do. So would be that would be for me. We'd love to hear what others think. And the point of all of this, and you'll see in a moment what we're going to do with the answers to these questions, and there's more questions, by the way. But the best way to achieve these things is to schedule them in. So if you have a schedule you wrote down, you have more of a chance to spend more time that you love. You have more chance getting the three most important things you want done, and you have a better chance of spending more time with people that you want to spend time with if you schedule them in. More important than ever in this pandemic and quarantine to do that. All right, let's move on to the second category of questions, which is, so the second concept is that busy is a choice. So we need to schedule some downtime. So if you think about even the way things were before the pandemic, but I think it's true now. So many things that we allow ourselves to be busy with subconsciously, especially now. Things just like, watching, my vision, or depending on, you're looking at social media relentlessly, uh, be, making yourself just completely busy for no reason. And what it hurts is that you don't really empty your mind. So what we want to do is we schedule some downtime to allow us to empty the mind of the noise of the outside, so you can start working out exactly who you are. And the more time I spend doing nothing but thinking will be the start of a more purposeful, authentic life. And this is my favorite category because it's so true. It's Dr. Chatterjee, switch off. Default mode network of the brain goes into, and it's the most powerful source of idea generation. So, okay, tell me if you find that to be true, because when you have your mind turned off, and the example that he gives is, it's the best one. It's you're taking a shower, your mind is off, you're not really thinking. Maybe you might be thinking about something in particular, but if your mind is just, I'm going in the shower, that's where the best idea. Um, like cutting the, but it's so true. It's where, I come up with an idea because, I'm not really thinking about anything. I might have some music in my earbuds, but, typically I'm not really listening to anything, substantive because, for numerous reasons. But I'm just listening to music, just trying to get the lawn mowed, and I do come up with good ideas. So it's good to have a little bit of downtime in that respect. So how do we do that? So here are the tips to schedule it. You want to schedule some me time every day, and it can be short as 10 minutes. And what I would suggest, and this all sounds like, oh my gosh, where am I going to find this, right? We're busy already. Well, we're going to come up with a routine to do that. And again, 10 minutes of just letting your mind go, having some ideas. And that could be just as much as, for example, the next line is put your phone away during downtime. Like you're waiting in a supermarket line. You're waiting for an order pickup. You ordered food and you go and you're doing the curbside pickup and, you're bored. So what do? You're just, and you don't, it's just a totally subconscious thing, and just pick up the phone and just look at my email or look on social media or what have you. But use that time. Use that time as you time. Don't give that time to your phone. Don't give that time to somebody else. Take that time for yourself. Or use your phone to enhance downtime. So if you have a particularly, relaxing music that you use, whether that's like smooth jazz or classical music, or, there's like, I don't know, like Buddhist meditation music, whatever music that you find relaxing, you can use to enhance your downtime. But don't give up that little bit of downtime that you have, because it's precious time. Okay, now the third one. Oh, before I do that, I did want to ask, um, what are some ways that what are some activities that you would classify as quote unquote me time? So uh, walking again, again, like I might take a walk, I'm gonna spend like time, and then all we're cutting they got we these has to be used. Uh, think about certain tasks. Just gotta go in the shower. Why not use the time? Okay, temptation here. Oops. All right, and the third mode here. Schedules that will reduce your stress. So ask ourselves a number of questions here. One, what brings you joy? You want to include in your schedule a daily dose. What would that be for you? For me, I wrote down listening to music. I wrote down Disney, anything Disney. I wrote down sports, which, I don't know that I would have wrote that down before the pandemic, but now I'm kind of like, it would be nice to catch an inning of a baseball game or, watch the Blackhawks, or I also do some fantasy baseball and a fantasy football league with some of my ABA friends, and that, although I don't always do well, although I won last year in baseball. But it gives you a little, a certain amount of pleasure. So sports, Star Trek, especially Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and West Wing. And I'm sure there's a ton of other things that I'm forgetting, but those are the things that I wrote. The things that Mother, I don't know, and what do I write? Here's the next question. What things do you have in your schedule or that you would like to do that delays ratification? So, learning a new language or playing a musical instrument. So, we'd love to hear what those things for you that delay gratification, and it's important for your brain, important to schedule us in. So I have it on my list. I can do it. Rosetta Stone, you're not going to get Babel, another language learning app. I'm not doing it. Sorry, but there are plenty of other things. So I've an app. It's called Piano, which is great. I think it was going to be, although that a little bit of a plateau where the music is not as complicated enough as I would want. And so I may need either a book my son takes piano. He has a book that is sort of taking him up the level. So I may need it as well. I want to get to the point. So what are the things you do that are new that delay gratification? What activity involves movement or exercise? Those are the sort of final questions, or the final answers for you to write down. And so for me, in the past, I've focused on I've done some yoga, I've done some cardio. There's a YouTube channel called Project Body. It's like low in. That's why don't you run? Probably not. And finally, when they're that can be strenuous, depending on the play. So running, cardio, I've experienced with, and things that I would do once again. So what I would like you to do with that list, so hopefully you have a list of things that you wrote down under each category. And you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, how am I going to get all this in? But we need to, let's take the things that we talked about and say, are they weekday, weekend, or everyday tasks? Because not every day, you don't have to do these things every day. You're not going to have time to do them every day. As a matter of fact, if you say, well, I'm just going to do this on the weekend, then, then, then you're going to find time, because I think most of us have more weekend time than we've ever had in our entire lives. I know that's true for me, especially because I usually referee hockey, like 5 games Saturday, 5 games Sunday. This is during the season, a couple of games Friday night. And then, on Sunday, during the school year, I teach religious education for my kids. Just a lot of things. And then, my kids are, shuttling around to rehearsals, and just so much things that I'm busy with. But now I'm not. Now my weekends are pretty empty. So a lot of these things I think can go to the weekend. So let's start with the activities that you would love to spend more time doing, something that you feel like you can't find in your daily life. Like, I'll just with my list. Piano and singing, I like every day. 10 or 20 minutes. Going to theater. Help on the, make the dinners, that sort of thing, every day. Help thing, but I could help. It probably makes sense. And I probably should be doing that every day. And then finally, reading. Every day is Lord. And I'm wondering, I'm reading for my job, catching up on the bar, right? Okay. So the 3 most important things that you want to get done in any given day that would make you feel as if you won the day. I put down all business stuff. I don't know what to put down. I'm in podcast. Oh, goal time is, although probably maybe Saturday. Nah, it's probably every day. If I can be honest, every day, because I'm, during the week I'm calling somebody. They wrote somewhat of business. That's just not for my. But so it's probably because my wife and kids, I do, um, and that way. Though, obviously, colleagues, people that I during the week or in association the week. All right, scheduling me time. Dog, pulling the weeds, yard work, cutting grass, taking a shower, walking the dog. Probably every day I could do, and probably would want to. because I love my dog and would love to take him out more. Taking a shower, I'll just say every day. It doesn't really happen every day in the pandemic, but I'll put every day. Pulling weeds, cutting grass, maybe a weekend.